Hello and welcome to my WWE Summerslam 2017 review. I am joined, as I was for the match simulations / predictions videos, by Emir from Raw Wrestling Talk.
Thank you so much for having me again, man. It's a pleasure to be here and talk out the results of that pay-per-view with you.
Absolutely, and it was only right to have you back on considering we both did predictions. I've got my prediction, your prediction, WWE 2K17's prediction, and the actual result written in front of me. So this should be interesting because not every match actually ended up getting uploaded, unfortunately, because I just ran out of time because my internet's slow. But I have written down what we originally said. So we'll see who won. The one thing I haven't done is actually written down scores, for who was ahead and who was behind. So we'll figure that out as we go, and see who got the better predictions, me, you, or the game. My money's on the game. So, the pre-show. Did you watch the pre-show, or did you just watch the main card?
Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch the pre-show. I was kind of hung up at a birthday party.
Ah, okay. Well, I'll just run through what happened on the pre-show, and you can choose whether you want to go back and watch it based on what I say. So first was the six-man special gimmick empty arena match between the Miz Taraj and Jason Jordan and the Hardy Boys. Yeah, it was strange because the arena was there was like a few hundred people in the arena at the time. Apparently there's some sort of miscommunication between WWE and the Barclays Center on when the doors should open, and basically they started the match when the doors had only just opened and people hadn't managed to get in yet. So it was a really empty arena for that match. It was strange. We both predicted the face team to win, the Jason Jordan and the Hardy Boys team to win. The game predicted the Miz Taraj, and the Miz Taraj actually won. Which was a strange result. It was sort of like one of those situations where Miz got a blind tag, sneaked in behind Jason Jordan and hit the skull crushing finale. So it sort of continues the feud if they so wish, which I don't believe they did. Did they on Raw?
No, they did. It looks like Jason Jordan has moved on for the time being. But here's what I thought was weird about the match. The result, first of all, I thought was a little strange. And yes, I totally understand the Miz being upset because beyond the fact that there was basically nobody in the arena to watch his match, why again is the Intercontinental Champion on the pre-show? Meanwhile, a match we'll talk about a little bit later, but just to preface that, the Big Show versus Big Cass with Enzo in a shark cage, that's on the main show. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
I guess because they put budget into buying or renting a shark cage, so they wanted to put it on the main show. Yeah, but it's a good point. Yeah, but I mean, I do think there wasn't that much that could switch places with things on the pre-show. It was just such a stacked card, and it was a shame some of the things that got bumped to the pre-show had to. Because you could make the same argument for the Cruiserweight title match or the SmackDown Tag title match. Why were they on the pre-show? So, yeah, it was just, I don't know, they just had to make a decision, I guess, and someone was always going to be unhappy because, they don't like performing in front of an empty arena, and they don't get royalties from the DVD because the pre-show's not on the DVD, so financially it affects them as well, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
So, the next pre-show match was the Cruiserweight Championship match, and me and you unanimously just said, well, Tozawa's winning this, he just won the title on Raw, that's why they did the title change on Raw, so they could do a retention on the pre-show. It all makes sense, and the game predicted Neville, and the game was right again. Neville wins back his championship after only 6 days. Really strange. I didn't look at the results from 205 Live, so I don't know what they've done going for, I think, did they do the rematch on 205 Live?
They did the rematch, and Neville retained in the rematch. And then, to make things even more strange, after he retained the title, of all people, Enzo Amore comes out, who's now been sent down to 205 Live, and says he's coming after the Cruiserweight title.
Right, yeah, I saw something about Enzo debuting, but other than lose a load of matches to a guy bigger than him and win a match because the guy was injured and unable to continue competing completely by accident, what's Enzo done to deserve a shot at any championship in WWE? That's really strange. No, I don't like that. I think that might be why they pulled the flip the switch on the Neville winning the title back, because they decided they were going to go ahead and do that. But
Okay, but here's the thing. Okay, Neville's got the title back, and then you're gonna send Enzo Amore after him. Like, one of the things about 205 Live, a lot of people might not watch it, but when you do watch it, you notice that everybody there can wrestle their ass off beyond belief. It's
yeah,
not exactly a premier spot to put Enzo Amore, who has little to no wrestling ability at all.
maybe they're hoping that Neville can drag Enzo up and sort of train him on the job, if you like, on the job training and get him to actually a decent level. I don't know. I don't know what the thinking is. Maybe they're just thinking, do you know what? This is like the one thing that the one criticism I have heard of 205 Live, because I've never really watched 205 Live personally. You know, it's just not been that interesting to me. But the one criticism I have heard from people that watch it is sometimes the character work isn't the greatest. So you know, maybe they're thinking, let's send Enzo down there to kind of show them how promos are done. But to be honest, I've been getting sick of Enzo promos recently as well. Like the one at SummerSlam, I was just thinking, you know, can the shark cage be soundproof? I think Corey Graves even said that at one point, because it was like it was just like, shut up, Enzo. Like so.
Yeah, his promos are very, very long-winded, and he doesn't make sense. He makes a lot of like really corny, nonsensical jokes that don't make sense, and the crowd pops big for it. But anybody who's got a little bit of intelligence is kind of like, this guy. What are you even saying? You're not saying it.
He talks for a long time and says nothing, doesn't he? Yeah. Okay, so we'll get onto Enzo in a little bit more detail shortly. But yeah, that's obviously why they did it, but I still think it's a very strange decision. But either way, currently me and you got 0 right and the game has got 2 out of 2, so it's going well.
Crazy.
The SmackDown Tag Championship match, I said the New Day would win, you said the New Day would win, the game even predicted the New Day to win, and the Usos won. So, I mean, again, a strange one, a short title reign for the New Day. You sort of don't expect it after their Raw Tag title reign was so long. You almost don't expect a short title reign. And it was a clean win. There was a bit of controversy. I don't know if you saw this in your group. I've seen it across Twitter and across Facebook. Where everyone was like, well, it wasn't a legal man. Xavier Woods has tweeted that he was the legal man. You know, there's no controversy, they beat us fair and square. People apparently didn't see the tag. I saw the tag. I saw the tag that made Big E the legal man. But apparently not many people did, because lots of people are saying, oh, there was no tag, and there was. If you watch it, just people go back and watch it. Honestly, there was a tag. Big E was the legal man, unfortunately. There's no thing to rely on like that. They don't need a thing to rely on like that. They can just use a rematch clause, which is always there when it suits, you know. So
Yeah, I think another thing with people is that you know, you and I thought it would be strange if they just lost the titles. You know, same scenario as with Tozawa. It's like they just won the belts. There's no way they're going to turn around and lose them that quickly. And so when it does happen, the brain scrambles to make sense of it. And the only thing that people could seem to grasp onto was like, well, he must not have been a legal man. But in reality, he was. You saw it. It was tweeted about, and people are just going to have to accept that. We can't quite figure out what creative is doing. They're going to kind of, you know, do things that might be unexpected from time to time, and that is what it is.
yeah, I feel like a lot of the booking of the whole show was purely to create doubt in our mind for the main event. It was, you know, like, it wasn't necessarily the best thing for the New Day storyline for the Usos to win the title back, but it was the best thing for the Brock Lesnar storyline, and I feel like a lot of the show was kind of geared towards that, unfortunately. But if you're going to go back and watch it and look for the tag, just before Xavier hits the Tornado DDT to the outside on whichever Uso was outside, that's when Big E tags in. If I remember rightly. And can I just say as well, this match, for a pre-show match, in fact, not even for a pre-show match, this match was brilliant. I thoroughly enjoyed this match. It was stiff as hell. They looked like they were beating the hell out of each other. I get the feeling the New Day and the Usos really get along, because normally that's when you get matches like this where they just beat the hell out of each other and they know they're going to hug when they get backstage and be like, yeah, good match, let's go have a drink. You know, like, it looked so good, and there was so many, like, false finishes, and it was just really entertaining. But, like, good false finishes, not, oh, look, this guy's kicked out of 17 finishes. It was, like, you know, very last-second pin breakups and stuff. This was arguably better than the Raw Tag title match later on, and that was a good match. So, definitely go back and watch this match, even if you don't go and watch the other two.
Yeah, I definitely will, and that's one of those things where it's like I love a good wrestling match, even though it doesn't matter if I know the outcome already. It's like I want to see. I want to see how hard they work. They work their butts off, and presumably they too were in an empty arena.
No, well,
Depending.
no, the arena had kind of filled up by then. It was, because it was the last match on the pre-show. It finished with about 10 minutes to go to the main show, so it was pretty full. It was pretty full, but it's one of those things where at WrestleMania, when Dean Ambrose and Baron Corbin was shoved down to the pre-show, and you got the feeling neither of them cared about the match, and it was just a rubbish match. That's one way you can go when you dump down to the pre-show. The other way you can go is do what the New Day and the Usos did and prove that they were wrong to do that. And that's what New Day and Usos did. They proved they had a spot. They should have had a spot on the main card because they deserved it, because they had a fantastic match.
Well, good for them, man. I'm glad that they did. Because there have been some people I've heard out there that are like, "Hey, the New Day gimmick is getting old. It's getting stale." But is it getting stale when they're still putting on stellar matches like that, even on the pre-show?
I mean, I personally just think that people like to start making that complaint. They have a timer set on the phone. A new tag team gets together and they set an alarm for 3 years and 7 months and 4 days. And when that alarm goes off, they're getting stale. And I just think it's like, no, they're not. They came in as faces. They didn't get over. They turned heel. They gradually turned face through being great and being entertaining. They've mixed it up, a little bit, and they always adapt the routine. It's not like Enzo Amore I know he's like he's slating Enzo in this review, but where he comes out and says basically the exact same thing followed by a load of nonsense. The New Day always cut a unique promo. And they do. I think they keep it fresh. I'm not bored of the New Day yet. Put it that way. I think it's unfair criticism.
Me too. I love the New Day.
I hope they never split up. Sure, they might adapt the characters. Sometimes they might all turn heel together. But I want to see the New Day go into the Hall of Fame together. I want to see if Big E or if Kofi or even Xavier Woods, but I think he's the least likely, could ever win a world title. I want to see him do it with the other two at ringside with him. I don't want to see a split to push them. I want to see them pushed together, kind of thing.
Yeah, that would definitely be fantastic. I'm all for it.
Yeah. Right, okay, on to the main show. This was kicked off with John Cena versus Baron Corbin. And this was the good old John Cena that everyone hated back in 2009-10, wasn't it? Where he doesn't take his opponent seriously. He takes a beating, he makes his comeback, and he wins with a single AA. It was, I didn't personally hate the match. I let Cena off because he'd clearly been told to go out and do that because of the rumoured heat on Baron Corbin backstage. But it was good old John Cena that everyone hated in the late 2000s, early 2010s, wasn't it?
Yeah, man. Here's the thing. I saw the match, and I thought to myself, why are they having this match? I mean, I get it. Baron Corbin's got heat, so let's go out there and it's basically it's a squash match, but it's just like it felt very unimportant. It was just like John Cena wins, of course. What's the point of this again? I didn't really like it at all. But also, I don't remember what I predicted. So what did I think?
You and I both predicted a Cena win. I think a Cena win was very predictable because of what had happened to Corbin on SmackDown. He clearly isn't in favour anymore. You're not going over Cena when there's that kind of heat on you that's apparently on Corbin. So we both predicted Cena. The game predicted Corbin. So for those keeping score at home, the game has now got 2 out of 4 right, and me and Emir have both got 1 out of 4 right. So it's kind of 2-1-1 is the score at the moment.
Well, it feels good to have one finally.
Yeah, that's what I thought when it got to this. I was like, oh, well, I didn't do very well on the pre-show, but at least I'm starting off the main card okay. So, nothing much to say. It wasn't a surprise. It wasn't a great match. It wasn't a Cena classic. It was just, it served the purpose that we kind of knew it was going to, which was bury Baron Corbin. On to the next match. It was the SmackDown Women's Championship. This was, honestly, not a great match in my opinion. I didn't really enjoy the match. I really enjoyed the result, but I didn't enjoy the match that much. I thought a lot of it wasn't very fluid. There was a bit where they tried to transition from Naomi's submission into the sharpshooter, and Natalya didn't seem to quite know what she was doing. She seemed to get a bit lost, which isn't criticism. Like, Natalya's the best wrestler on the female roster for me. It's just she got a little bit lost in that moment and had to roll Naomi back onto her back to then roll her back through onto the sharpshooter. And there was just a few moments where I thought it didn't quite click between them.
Yeah,
personally.
I agree. I also didn't like the panning to backstage where Carmella and James Ellsworth are standing at the monitor watching the match. It's kind of like, oh, that's what they do on a SmackDown. They don't do that kind of stuff on the pay per view. And I know they wanted the fans to think, oh, there's a chance she might cash in. But I'm just going to be honest. It never really felt to me at all that there was ever a threat that Carmella might run down and cash in.
As soon as they start doing that panning to backstage, I mean, we both predicted a Naomi win followed by a Carmella cash in. But I think if we'd have made our predictions after the pre-show even, because Carmella was on the pre-show talking about cashing in, but especially after the first few minutes, once it pans to the back and shows Carmella watching, I think we would both have said, no, there's no cash in, because they don't give it away. They try, when the cash in's imminent, they stop talking about it, and, you know, and the Money in the Bank holder loses a few matches, and, you know, and they sort of start to take the focus away from this person could be a threat to try and make it a surprise. It's how they do it every single year, without fail. And I think I knew, like you said, you knew there was no cash-in coming. Even though we predicted it before the show started, I think we could both agree. If we were doing this live, if we were like live streaming us watching the show and talking about it, we'd be saying there's no cash-in coming. So yeah. Interestingly enough, the game predicted Natalya to win, so the game goes 3-1-1 up against us. What did you think of the overall match? I mean, like I say, I wasn't that impressed. I expected a better match out of these two.
I guess you know what I did enjoy the match because I was comparing it because I felt like before when Naomi's let's say biggest match on SmackDown so far to me had been when she went against Charlotte, and for me that was a total dud. So I felt like her and Natty had a little bit more chemistry and performed better. But I did feel like when that second sharpshooter went on, Naomi could have. Like she didn't have to immediately tap out like that. She could. There should have been another moment of like her trying to get to the ropes, being pulled back, and then her fighting and fighting and fighting, and then finally giving up. But just like she tapped out so easily the second time, I just felt like maybe they were up against the time limit. I don't know, but it just felt like this was kind of rubbish. They could have. There should have been more there in that moment.
Yeah, one thing that bothers me with spots like that is early in the match, I think they did the whole Naomi crawling to the ropes and then Natalya dragging her back into the centre of the ring with the sharpshooter. It always bothers me that then the next time they crawl to the ropes, they get to the ropes. It's like, no, drag them back again. And again, I think it'd be a really good finish to the match if Naomi crawled to the ropes and Natalya dragged her back into the middle. Then she did it again and dragged her back. And did it about 5 times. And then eventually Naomi went, I can't get out of this, and just tapped. Like okay, I've had enough pain now, thanks. But like there was a proper back and forth where they're kind of dragging each other across the ring in the sharpshooter position. I thought that'd be a great finish. But yeah, it was too easy the tap out, especially considering she'd got out of it once already.
I will say this though, and this is just me having a moment of honesty with your listeners. When Naomi sat in the ring, tears streaming down her face, I might have gotten something in my eye. I don't know what it is, but I'll tell you that at the end, in spite of the fact that the finish was lackluster, when those tears came down her face, she did her job as a babyface, and I felt sympathetic for her loss.
Okay, I'm going to be honest, and this might say more about me than it does about Naomi or you, but I didn't. I didn't. The first thing that went through my mind was men cry when they win the title. No male wrestler has ever cried when he's lost the title that I can remember. And to me that did damage to the women's revolution, because it was like, no, stop being an over emotional woman. You're supposed to be a wrestler, kind of thing. I don't know. It just, the first thing through my mind was that's never happened at the end of a men's match. Like, and they're trying to put them on equal footing at the end of the day, and that's what went through my mind, was that never happens. Men cry when they win the title for the first time at WrestleMania. They don't cry when they drop the title at SummerSlam.
That's true, and to speak to your point, if you look back at that heated rivalry between Sasha Banks and Charlotte, every time Charlotte lost the belt, she cried.
Yeah, and it's like, but you're getting it back next pay-per-view. Calm down, But interestingly enough, by the way, do you know something I read, and I didn't know this fact? Sasha Banks. Well, no, we'll talk about this when we talk about the Raw Women's match. We'll talk about. Just remind me, I've got an interesting fact about Sasha Banks. But what I was going to say, yeah, I mean, we're going to do a podcast on the Women's Revolution and my thoughts on it. So everyone head over to Emir's channel and subscribe so you don't miss that. It's definitely worth a listen because I've got a couple of interesting opinions on it. But but moving on, we got Big Cass versus the Big Show with Enzo Amore cutting a 5.5-hour promo before the match, then getting locked in a cage that wasn't soundproof, unfortunately, and kept talking. And kept distracting from the match. I don't know how good the match was because I was basically doing everything but watch it. I was tweeting abuse at Enzo Amore and stuff. You know, I was doing everything but watch this match because I didn't want to watch Enzo, if I'm honest.
I'll tell you, not only wasn't that cage soundproof, but it also wasn't Enzo-proof because his skinny little ass pulled out some lubrication, which one of the commentators was like, he pulled out lubrication out of nowhere. Well, out of nowhere, like come on.
Yeah, he's a wizard. He just magicked it out of nowhere. No, he pulled it out of his pocket, mate. Like, calm down.
Yeah, come on. Let's not do the whole magic thing. He pulls out, and he rubs himself down and slips. He slips through the bars, and then he climbs down the cage and drops in the ring. Cass watches him the entire time, and the moment his feet touch down, Cass kicks him in the face, and Enzo has no further involvement. Like,
yeah,
what?
That was really satisfying and should have happened in the first 5 seconds of the match, in my opinion.
Wasn't insane? Like, you took all that time to escape just to immediately get kicked in the face, and that was it. That's like, that was who writes this stuff?
I mean, whoever wrote that deserves a raise for me, because anything that finishes with Enzo getting kicked in the face is alright by me. We all predicted the Cass win. Me, you, and the game predicted the Cass win. Cass won. If Big Show would have won that match, it would have annoyed me because they would have just done it for the sake of swerving us. Like, you know, and I just feel I hate when you can't justify a swerve other than haha, but you didn't see it coming. You know, like that's the type of swerve that I don't like. If you can justify it, then fine. But when there's a swerve and it's just like haha, I bet you didn't see that coming, it's like, well done. You know, you made a completely illogical booking choice. But they didn't do that. They went with what was the predictable, correct booking, if you like. Unfortunately, not come off because obviously now Cass is injured. I think that injury is pretty legit. You know, it didn't seem like acting to me. So unfortunately, Cass is going to be out for a bit now. You know, whether or not you're a big fan of his heel work, you don't wish that on anyone. So
Big Cass is legitimately injured. It's a torn ACL.
Oh, is it? Oh, I didn't know the news had come out. Right. Oh.
9 months. 9 months. He's going to be away.
No, it's not good, is it? Not good. You know, and
right,
it's right as he was building momentum as well. It's not. It's, you know, it's one of the few instances where, like, Bayley being injured, I said, you know, could be good for her in a way because she was starting to slip a little bit and fans were starting to boo her. She can come back fresh, you know, like come back to a big pop and make an impact straight away from an injury. You know, Seth Rollins did it, came back from an injury and was like, boom, I'm in the main event, hello. You know, it can be quite, I mean, Seth Rollins, it didn't benefit him because he was already in the main event before, but it wasn't detrimental to him either. You know, he in terms of his position on the card. Cass, I'm not sure what he does after coming back from an injury. It's cut all of his heat, all of his momentum, you know, so it's just terrible timing for him. It's not a good time to get injured, but this was a definite bad time for Cass.
Exactly.
So I think the score now, let me just quickly check. We were on 3-1-1, so it's 4-2-2 now. Me and you are dead even because we agreed on a lot of the card. We haven't disagreed yet, actually. The next match we disagreed. But up to now we haven't disagreed. So we're both on 2 points. The game's on 4 points. So crazy stuff. It's out of what, 5 matches? It's got 4 right. I told you the game's good at this stuff when we did it. So next match, the next match. I'll be honest. I sneezed and missed it. Was Orton versus Rusev. Clearly Rusev's done something wrong backstage. Apparently he's asked for his release or something. I'm not sure how true those rumours are. I've also heard rumours that just annoyed at him for cutting his hair, and I've heard rumours that he's asked for his release because they're annoyed at him for cutting his hair. So I don't know what exactly is going on backstage, but clearly someone isn't keen on Rusev at the moment.
Yeah, Rusev, I think his whole thing is he's kind of done what he's wanted to do almost the entire time. I mean, it's like I don't blame the guy. They have a storyline where his wife-to-be is kissing, tongue kissing Dolph Ziggler, every week out there. He's back there watching it. I'm not gonna sit there and watch my wife kiss some other guy. I don't care if it's their job or not. That because it doesn't have to be that way. Like somebody's writing it that way without taking into consideration that she's with Rusev, who has to then watch some man that he works with kiss his wife. It's stupid to do it, and so then they say, well, let's go to TMZ and tell everybody that we're married. And WWE is like, oh, you ruined our storyline. Yeah, but you were ruining our relationship. I don't think.
Yeah, I was just gonna bring that up. That you know, another potential source of heat was the fact that they announced their engagement as that story was going on. But you know, that's not on them. That's on WWE for doing a stupid storyline in the first place.
Then the next thing is he cuts his hair without their permission. Now this part I think is he was wrong for, because you got the video game with his image, you got all those action figures. Your image is everything in wrestling. You can't just make crazy alterations without their permission, because they've branded you. You're on every picture. You're everywhere. Then all of a sudden you alter your appearance and nothing matches anything, and they lose.
I mean, prime example, my thumbnail for this video, for the simulation video of this, still has long-haired Rusev, because there still isn't an official good quality, you know, transparent background picture of Rusev on places like WWE Shop and stuff like that. You know, it's still not how people picture Rusev, and it's still not his image that's out there on WWE products, if you like. So yeah, it's still not happened. I made the note. My notes for the match literally say, "Oh, full stop." Match as good as build up. That's what I put. Match as good as build up. The match itself was about as intricate and detailed and well thought out as the build up to the match. You know, in case anyone hasn't watched and they just want to know what happened through watching the review, that Rusev attacked Randy Orton during his entrance, and then when the match actually started, Rusev ran in, or Orton ran in. One of them did a little run across the ring. Orton hit an RKO. Rusev kind of landed on the top of his head and did a bit of a spin-a-rooney out of it almost. And then they saw it as the most brutal RKO ever. It's like, no, he just landed wrong. And then he pinned him, and that was it. It was 6 seconds in the match. So I predicted a Rusev win, so I don't get a point there. You predicted a Randy Orton win by DQ, so I'm going to go ahead and give you half a point for that. So, because you got the right guy, but it was a DQ. You specifically wanted me to put a DQ win down for you, not a pinfall win. So you get half a point, and then the game predicted an Randy Orton win by pin. So the game gets yet another point. So the game's on 5, I'm on 2, you're on 2.5. So you're half as good as the game, and I'm just not. To put it bluntly.
The thing I like about the Randy Orton versus Rusev match is that, you know, the game did predict that some of these matches would just happen so quickly, they would just end without notice, and I felt like that at least matched up.
yeah. I think this match was probably one of them, one of the short matches we had as well. Right, well, it's a short match. Let's talk about it for a short time. Let's move on. So, Raw Women's Championship. Right, I predicted Alexa. You predicted Alexa. The game predicted Alexa. No one saw that one coming. Fun fact about Sasha Banks, before I forget to shoehorn this in. Sasha Banks is now a 4-time Raw Women's Champion and has never successfully defended the belt. Ever.
Yeah, Alexa Bliss specifically brought up as much.
Did she? I didn't.
Yeah, Monday night. She said, listen, you might have been champion 4 times, but every time you defend the belt, you lose it. So clearly you're not, a fighting champion. And
I mean, it goes to my old adage that heels talk sense. Like, as a general rule in WWE, heels talk sense. They tell the truth, and they talk logically, and people don't like it. Because they want to cheer the hero, and that's how you get over as a heel. And she's right. She's absolutely right. She's just stating facts, and that makes her a heel. So, go figure.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised.
See, I've actually written down surprised. I was surprised. I was like, really? Like, I hate when they do this. They obviously made a last-minute change due to a real injury. They made a last-minute change, and again, it's that case of swerving for the sake of swerving. Everyone knew Alexa was going to win because Sasha wasn't even booked to be in the match, so they don't have a story plan for Sasha as champion after SummerSlam because she wasn't even supposed to be in the championship match. So they just swerved us there for the sake of it, as far as I'm concerned, because that was just, oh, well, no one will see this coming. Like, in my opinion, that's how it came across to me.
Yeah, I think some of the there was a story about the betting odds. The day of the pay per view, some of the betting odds shifted, and I believe that was one of the matches where it was like Alexa was originally slated to win. The odds were in her favor, and then right before the show started, the odds switched, and all of a sudden Sasha was more favored to win.
Yeah, I feel like the bet. I sort of avoid the betting odds before the show because I feel like they're almost spoilers now. Like I feel like they're so right so often. It's almost like reading spoilers for the pay per view. I don't know where they get their information from, but it's someone inside WWE because it's so accurate a lot of the time. The betting odds, you know, it's almost like reading spoilers. So that is the one thing I don't like to see before the build up. I don't mind seeing rumors. I quite often don't click the link to the article about rumours of what could happen because I want it to be a surprise, but I definitely don't look at betting odds. I definitely don't look at the betting odds, especially the day of the event. The day of the event, the betting odds are just spoilers, like, to me. So, in terms of the actual match, I didn't feel like this clicked that well. Considering I like Sasha as a wrestler, and I like Alexa as a wrestler, I don't feel like this match clicked that well. And I feel like they've had better, like the match the Alexa walked out on. That was it. The last pay per view or the one before. I feel like that was a better match until the ending. Like I don't know. I just
Yeah, I agree. And the thing about Alexa and Sasha is, let's be honest, they're not that good of actors. The reality is, I think they really don't like each other, and because of that, I think maybe they're finding it difficult to work with one another. Where it's that passive aggressive thing where it's like, oh, we have to work together again. We're gonna smile and pretend like it's okay. But if you look at their faces, they legit have disdain for each other, and so it's difficult to put somebody over. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. Edge and Matt Hardy, they did it with Lita involved in the love triangle. They still work together. So if they can do it, anybody can. But I do think that the product will suffer behind two people legitimately not liking each other.
see. I'm in two minds about that because generally, when you can list a feud between two people that genuinely didn't like each other, it tends to actually be quite good, like Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels as well. But I'm in two minds about that because I've actually heard rumours as well that Alexa Bliss and Sasha Banks have been pretty much best buds since NXT, and tend to travel together and stuff. And I know Alexa said in a sort of out of character interview that she doesn't like her, but you know she's a professional and she'll try and work a good match even if she doesn't like the person. But part of me thinks, was that semi in character because, you know, leading up to a feud, a bitter rivalry match at SummerSlam, she could get some heat on her for saying, no, she's my best mate. You know, like, you know, and breaking kayfabe by that much, I feel like would be a bit risky for her. So I'm still not convinced they actually don't like each other. I've heard a lot of rumblings that they've been best friends ever since they met in NXT, and you know, and they travel together and stuff like that. So I'm not 100% sure, you know. But either way,
Here's something.
I don't know what the reason was, but I don't feel like it clicked that well today. I feel like, but like I say, I feel like they've had a better match together, these two. So it's not like they can't click. I just don't think they did.
Here's a quick side note for Sasha Banks and Rusev. Rusev was also getting in trouble from WWE because he sent out a tweet the other day criticizing a fellow superstar for not interacting with the fans and writing that Eddie Guerrero would have stopped and shook every fan's hand. So what's this person's problem?
And it was rumoured at that point it was about Sasha, and it turns out it may well have been because it's a big bandwagon on the internet now, isn't it? As soon as Sasha doesn't do something perfect, everyone has to share it, which there's sort of two trains of thought for it, and I'd be interested to know what people think in the comment section, not only about the show in general, but about this. Is it a wrestler's obligation to stop and talk to the fans? Is it only their obligation if they're a face, or is it the fans' obligation to leave them the hell alone when they're, you know, not in a wrestling capacity? I don't know. I mean, me personally, I told you the story about meeting Tommy Dreamer on your podcast, and I didn't bother Tommy Dreamer. He spoke to us, and I wasn't going to bother Tommy Dreamer. He was sitting in a bar having a drink, not my place to speak to him. You know, I've seen other wrestlers when I've been at WrestleMania hanging out. I've seen one in IHOP having his breakfast. Didn't bother him, you know, because to me that's invasive. But if a fan comes up to a wrestler, especially an active roster babyface wrestler, is it their job to interact with them? It used to be in the 80s. a babyface would probably got sacked for ignoring a fan. In the same way that a heel would probably got sacked for signing an autograph, like, because it was really kayfabe heavy. But in this day and age, is it her job? Is it her responsibility? I agree, it's not great of her to not value the fans. When that's part of the reason she is where she is because the fans took to us so well. But is it her job?
Yeah, it's that tough thing where it's like, you have to. For me, I think Sasha Banks has to understand that fame, it's different than like I work at Walmart. When you work at Walmart, you clock out at the end of the day, you go home. Even then, people still recognize you on the street, like, hey, you're the person who works at Walmart, but that's the extent of it. But fame is a different monster, and surely she didn't come into this business and say, I want to be a wrestler, but I don't want to get famous. I'm sure when nobody knew her name, she craved that spotlight, and she wished somebody wanted her autograph. The same way that she, when she was a little girl, was chasing down wrestlers for a picture with them and an autograph. And you can't, there's no like, well, I want to be famous, but only when I want to be. And the rest of the time I want to be normal. When the fame is on, it's on, brother.
I agree. I do agree. I just don't agree to the extent that I've seen on the internet where, people are really, really, really slating her and getting really personal. And that guy saying, giving her husband grief and nearly causing a fight because of it and stuff. I don't think that's right. I think it's their choice, and you can judge them for making what you think is the wrong choice. But to actually berate someone for not wanting to sign something that you may very well go and sell on eBay, because they don't know if you're a genuine fan or if you just know they're someone famous and want to make a quick buck. They don't know the difference. That's the thing. So like, I understand both sides. I understand sometimes you might just not be in the mood, but I also understand that maybe you just suck it up anyway because it's kind of your job, especially as a babyface. Like, apparently Jinder Mahal, who's supposedly a heel, he stopped and signed like every autograph there that wanted us, at the hotel or something after the show. So, he obviously, because he's fairly new to being a big star. Obviously, he's been in WWE for quite a while, on and off, but for being a main eventer, he's new to it. So he obviously still appreciates it. I wonder if Sasha's just sort of got ground down by it a little bit and doesn't enjoy that aspect of it anymore. But either way, it's, you kind of suck it up, don't you, and sign a couple of postcards.
Yeah, exactly. So you're right. It's tough because it's like, how do you find the proper line where it's like, this is enough. This is acceptable to this point, but can I please eat my dinner without being disturbed? Can I go to the bathroom without a phone flashing underneath it? And it has to be tough, but once you get famous, that's what I'm saying. You got to look at it. It's like, you got to know, you get to a certain level, that's how it's going to be. And if you don't want your life to be that way, you got to at some point decide maybe that that career, that level of fame is not for you. Take yourself out of that spotlight. But if you're going to be Sasha Banks and known across the world, unfortunately, you're going to have to deal with people. Not everybody is as nice as Mike Ibiza. Most of these fans are crazy. It's like, I'll never get another chance to see Sasha Banks walking down the street. I'll never get this opportunity again. I gotta go out. I gotta get something out. And that's the mentality.
That's true. I'll leave with one last thought, which is, you said, she got into wrestling to get famous. What if she didn't? And here's how you do that. What if your passion is wrestling and you start training because you want to know how your hero Eddie Guerrero does all that, and it turns out you're alright at it, and you end up working indie shows, and then it turns out you're actually pretty damn good at it, and then WWE come calling, and you're like, this is what I watched, I can't say no, and you kind of almost accidentally, through being good at wrestling, fall into being famous for wrestling. That might not have been the end goal when you started. It might just have been, I love wrestling and I want to try doing it, and it just sort of, it grows and grows and grows. She might never have wanted to be famous.
Here's the thing. My quick answer.
We don't know because we don't know her, but
right. I think this is what I think. If I just had to give a guess, my guess would be wrestling. Driving town to town, all that traveling, all that time spent away from your family. If you did all that just purely for the love of wrestling, but no fan cared about you, nobody bought a Sasha Banks shirt, nobody wanted your autograph, I just don't see how she could be happy in that scenario. I think the two go hand in hand.
I mean, yeah, but again, it might be different turning up at an indie show, making a bit of an impact and having your name known to those fans, and there's 200 fans and maybe 20 of them hang around and ask for your autograph. Might be a bit different than going to SummerSlam where there's 16,000 people and you know, if the same percentage is waiting outside your hotel when you get back, that's a hell of a lot of people, you know. Like so it might it might be one of those where fame's okay on a small scale, but when you get to the big scale, it can be quite a burden. But I mean, I think we've discussed Sasha enough. I sort of want to know what people think, so if they comment in the comment section down below, that'd be brilliant. And let me know, do you think Sasha is completely bang out of order? Do you think the fans are bang out of order, or do you think it's somewhere in the middle? And what do you think in the middle? But we'll move on now, because we talked about Sasha for quite a bit now. And I don't think that match was that good that that we needed to talk about it for so long.
Exactly.
Okay, so next up, Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt. Second most predictable match of the night. I mean, you know, well, third maybe behind Cena and Big Cass. Like, Finn was winning. Like, we predicted Finn, the game predicted Finn. Finn won. It was an alright match, nothing special. That's exactly what I wrote. It was a good match. It was an okay match, but I feel like I saw a question asked on Facebook, which was, who do you think is the wrestler most restricted by adapting to WWE style? And the first thought in my mind was Finn Balor. Like, I feel like Finn Balor was so much better, even just in NXT, than he has been on the main roster. You know, like, I feel like he's been limited.
I have a follow-up. I have my own. First of all, I agree that Finn Balor has been deeply impacted. I would also say Apollo Crews, formerly known as Uhaa Nation.
Uhaa Nation was amazing. I saw him live in the UK at a PCW show, and yeah, as soon as he signed, I was like, oh, I'm so happy for him. Like, I tweeted him and everything. I was like, he won't remember me, but I met him. He was a sound guy, and he was great in the ring, and you know, had tons of charisma. And I was like, man, this guy's going places. He can do anything, you know. And then turns out when you're in WWE, you can't do anything.
Exactly. Jesus.
But, I mean, speaking of the two, Finn and Apollo had a great match in NXT, if you remember, as well. I think it was the one that
I do remember that when I see
for the title. It was the other match for the title, and I think it might have been Samoa Joe interrupted it, and then they had just like a gentleman's match where they wanted to settle the match that never finished, and it was an amazing match.
I wish they would let them break loose and do some of the stuff they did in the indie, as far as the match with
I mean,
Finn and Bray.
I mean,
my favorite part of the match was Finn Balor's entrance. Other than that, I could have done without the rest of it.
Yeah, like, there's a couple of good spots. I think the ending was pretty good. How Finn just like almost matrixed up, like, just, you know, that was like his. If that becomes his kip up, I won't be mad about that. You know, like his kip up or his sit up like the Undertaker, or his push up into the crab like Bray Wyatt does. If he only ever does that as the Demon, it'll slightly separate the Demon from normal Finn Balor, and that'll be where the extra gear is, where Finn Balor loses the match and the Demon wins the match. You know, I can buy into that. But that was the only bit that caught my attention, really. It was just a standard Monday Night Raw quality wrestling match, in my opinion. Like, I don't think there's much more to say. It was predictable. We knew who was going to win, and we could have predicted how good the match was going to be as well. It was all right, you know.
Exactly.
Okay, so we'll move quickly on from that one. The Raw Tag Team Championships. A great match, in my opinion, the second best Tag Team Championship match of the night, but only just. It was a really good match. I enjoyed. I predicted Cesaro and Sheamus. You predicted Cesaro and Sheamus. The game predicted Cesaro and Sheamus. And I wrote the result as She, as in 2/3 of the Shield. SHIE. She won the match. So that should be their official team name, in my opinion. I put down it was the second best match so far, so I had the New Day match as the best match, and this is the second best match of the night up to this point. The finish was great. Let's skip straight ahead to that springboard Hurricane Rana on Cesaro into Sheamus holding Dean Ambrose. It was just like a car wreck, and it was a really entertaining car wreck, and then followed up with Seth Rollins' rubbish finisher straight into Dean Ambrose's okay finisher. But you know, that Hurricane Rana was just worth watching the match just for that. That spot was great.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it as well. I was kind of surprised at how good of a match that. Look, Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose Seth was always a good wrestler in the Shield. Dean Ambrose was not as good of a wrestler in the Shield as he uh,
Dean
out on his.
Ambrose was the voice of the Shield. He wasn't like the one
Yeah,
for the in-ring work. You had the in-ring worker, the muscle, and the voice. You know, that's why it was such a good team in effect, because everyone had like a very specific role that they played very well.
right. So I didn't anticipate the match being this good with them getting back together because they were never that good to begin with.
Well, I mean, Seth Rollins and Cesaro are two of the best wrestlers in the company. So you know that's a good start. Sheamus is very underrated, even if he just runs kind of a brawling style. He's quite good at the brawling style. He knows how to run a good match by this point, even if he's not doing anything all that spectacular move by move. The match itself usually works out okay. And Dean Ambrose, when he's surrounded by other good wrestlers, tends to have a good match. He just doesn't seem to be at that level where he can drag someone to a good match.
What do you think about the fact that everybody in that match was a former world champion, but Cesaro?
I think that's if I was gonna look at those four competitors and say only one of them can ever be a world champion, I would pick the one who hasn't ever been a world champion. Like, I've made my thoughts in your group and on probably on your podcast. We probably got into this because it's one of the things I like to talk about. I don't make any bones about the fact that I think Cesaro is probably going to go down in history as one of the most underused wrestlers they've ever had. Like ever. On an ever scale. You know, he's gonna be on the Owen Hart level of underused. Like he's just so good at everything. His worst aspect, which is his mic work, is good. It's okay. It's passable. Do you know what I mean? So and everything else is head and shoulders above that, and he's just great at everything except mic work, where he's only good. You know, to me. So I don't know. I don't. And people always will put him down with the mic work thing, and I just come back with Great Khali was world champion, Shinsuke Nakamura just had a world title shot, Brock Lesnar's the Universal champion. None of them are good mic guys. You don't have to be a good mic guy. I mean, right, Shinsuke might be a good mic guy in Japanese, but we don't watch WWE in Japanese, so he's not a good mic guy. You know, like, so it's one of those where you don't have to be a good mic guy to be a world champion or to be a world champion contender. So I don't know what's holding Cesaro back.
I think what's holding him back, and I think you might have mentioned this before during the prediction, but something along the lines of Vince McMahon doesn't think that Cesaro connects well with the fans.
Vince doesn't get it. Vince clearly had his earplugs in when Cesaro came out at WrestleMania 30 because, like, when Cesaro won the Battle Royal at WrestleMania 30, still, he must have had his earplugs in because he was ridiculously over. So yeah, I mean, I've had this rant probably, like you say, in the predictions video. So I'll keep it brief this time. But yeah, it's just mind-boggling to me that Cesaro's so underused. And I get what people sometimes say, which is, look, he's still had a good career. He's held singles gold, he's held tag gold several times. You know, he's memorable. He will be remembered, but he should be more than that. He should be at the top of the card. He should have been in that Fatal 4-Way, in my opinion, somewhere mixed into it. You know, like, I don't know who he'd replace.
Yeah.
Necessarily don't know who didn't deserve to be there, but he should be in that spot where he was considered for it. You know, maybe it should have been a Fatal 5-Way.
For what it's worth, there are a huge list of great men of WWE's past that never won that belt.
Oh, I know, and he's going to be up near the top of that list. But I don't even just mean not won the belt, because there are a load of great wrestlers that haven't won the belt. You know, your Roddy Pipers, but Roddy Piper had shots. Roddy Piper was in main events, was treated as a main eventer. He just never actually won the gold. Cesaro's never even been in the main event, you know, like in that picture. And to me, that is, I mean, even Owen Hart was in the main event picture at certain points, you know, when he was fighting Bret in a cage and stuff. So it's like Cesaro's probably going to go down as the best wrestler in history to never have a world title shot, like, at all. In my opinion, because I don't think he'll ever actually even get a match for it.
Well, I'll tell you this much: the day that he does, I'm sure we'll both be there to talk about it and celebrate it.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the best thing you can do with Cesaro is just, out of nowhere one year, have him win the Royal Rumble and watch, just do the experiment, just watch the build up and see how he does and see how the fans react, and I guarantee a surprise win at something like that, everyone will just be like, whoa, here we go, let's get into this. You know, that's, no one will have Cesaro section signs anymore because the whole crowd will be a Cesaro section. You know, like,
Exactly.
it'll be obsolete taking that sign, because if you put your Cesaro section up at the same time, no one in the arena will be able to see because everyone will have one. So, you know, it's like, yeah, just if they just pulled the plug on it, and at the end of the day, if you pull the trigger and it gets to WrestleMania and you're not convinced and he's not getting over, have him lose his title shot. But that wouldn't be the case. You know, we both know that would not be the case. He would be over like Rover.
Exactly.
Okay, so rant about Cesaro. The Shield one, we kind of both predicted a breakup, but obviously they're gonna milk this a little bit, you know, and sell some merch before they do the breakup, clearly. So on to the US title match. I predicted AJ, you predicted AJ, the game predicted AJ, and AJ won. It was a good match. I feel like probably the hardest working man in the match was Shane McMahon. Like, he took so many bumps and ref bump spots and stuff. It was almost like, is this a bit too much now? You know, are we focusing too much on Shane McMahon in this match?
I felt like here's the thing. Let's not spend the last SmackDown with the entire promo focused on, like, hey, if you touch me, I'll get involved back. Because if that was just happening organically in the ring and the fans weren't giving the heads up, like, Shane McMahon's fighting these guys back and he's getting rough with them, that's one thing. But the moment that you make your entire promo about that, then we know, oh, okay, at SummerSlam, Shane's obviously going to get involved a ton, and he's going to be crazy.
Yeah, same as pre-announcing the Demon turning up, like, instead of just hinting at it. It's the same thing, it ruins the effects, yeah, I agree. I feel like the highlight of the match was Kevin Owens shouting at Shane, you fall off buildings and you can't count to 3, or something like that. And I was just like, oh, Kevin, Kevin Owens is the best mic guy when he doesn't have a mic in his hand, ever. Like, you know, like, in the middle of a match, he's the best promo guy, mid-match promo I have ever seen. He rips the fans, he rips his opponent, he rips the referees, he must have so much fun in the ring, because he is just, like, the most natural heel I've ever seen in my life. You know, like, someone says something and he has an answer, and it's usually, you know, a good burn, and he just carries on like nothing happened, and when something happens, he reacts to it really well.
Yeah, he is very quick. You know, my whole thing is, now that he's taken this loss to AJ, and then he got another rematch tonight on SmackDown and lost that as well. Like,
yeah,
he's the new face of America.
It was a weird one. For some reason, he got Baron Corbin to be the referee, but for some reason, Shane McMahon finished the match as the referee.
Well,
and it's like, but is one of them turning? Is this going to lead to Kevin Owens versus Baron Corbin?
Well, he tried. Here's the thing: he was told he could find his own referee, and he tried to recruit Sami Zayn, but then he insulted Sami. He was like, "Look, we've been friends, we've been enemies, but you're the only person I trust." And he's like, "Let's be honest. You're not doing anything around here these days, so the least you could do is be my referee." And
he's not lying. I mean, what match was Sami in on SummerSlam? He didn't even make the pre-show, so he's not lying.
Yeah, and as you said, the heels just say the truth, and that's what they're hated for. Yeah. I don't know how Corbin, ended up being the referee, because I left for school, but I just saw afterward, it's like, yeah, Shane had to get back involved again.
I think Owens said to Corbin, if you referee this match and if I win, I'll give you the first shot at the US title. So he kind of bribed him to be the referee and to be a bit biased. But then AJ apparently said to Corbin, look, you know, you don't need to help Owens win. If I win, just answer my US title open challenge and you can have a US title shot whenever you want. So, you know, it kind of brought Corbin back to not being completely biased. It wasn't like a proper handicap match. So, I sort of like that there was a logical reason why the heel referee was kind of unbiased, but not completely. You know, like, I kind of like that. But going back to the SummerSlam match, there was too much referee, not enough wrestlers. You know, there's far too much focus on Shane McMahon. Always managing to get hit at the wrong place at the wrong time. And in fact, I think someone even said, I think it might have been JBL, said on the commentary, you know, part of the skill of being a WWE referee is you move counter to where the wrestlers are moving, so you don't get caught up in the action that much. Shane McMahon clearly doesn't know how to do that. And I was like, well, at least they've given a reason why Shane McMahon's been knocked down 30 times in this match. Like, at least they've put some sort of reasoning behind it. So, yeah. I mean, the match itself, it was okay. It still wasn't what AJ Styles, Kevin Owens needs to be. Like,
yeah, I agree. Because here's
Owens.
Kevin Owens and AJ Styles needs to be Kevin Owens and AJ Styles, not let's find a million opportunities for Shane to take a bump.
It's 2 of your top 5 wrestlers in the company. It's your top heel in the entire company, in my opinion, in terms of being a pure heel, against probably your top in-ring guy, so therefore your top face, in effect, because fans like good matches. You know, like, how is it not the best feud we've seen this year? How is it pretty disappointing? It's just being overbooked like crazy, and I don't understand why creative have to ruin something that could be good. I don't get that. Like, it is all on creative that this hasn't been that good.
Yeah, I agree, man. They're not particularly getting any better when it comes to stuff. I mean, there's so many bizarre things that are still happening. Nothing that makes any sense. I mean, just going back just for a tiny bit, for example, Neville immediately winning the Cruiserweight title back, and then Tozawa loses the rematch. And it's just like, well, what's the point of Neville? I mean, what are we doing here? What are we doing with all this stuff?
Yeah, what was the point of Neville losing the title on Raw? Like, me and you both agreed the point of Neville losing the title on Raw was so they didn't do the title change on the pre-show. Then they did 2 title changes on the pre-show, including the same belt. Like, it was just like, what is going on? That was obviously a good logical thought, and then someone thought, no, let's not do that. You know, and just I don't know. I'll never understand. I genuinely will never understand. We may as well move on because we're never going to understand how they've managed to make AJ Styles, Kevin Owens bad. Like, it's just tremendous work. I don't know how they've managed that. So, WWE Championship match. I predicted Shinsuke, you predicted Shinsuke, the game predicted Shinsuke. Jinder Mahal won, and I wrote here, standard Jinder Mahal. It was the exact same match as all 3 Randy Orton matches. It was a bit of back and forth. The face gets the upper hand, the Singh brothers get involved, and then Jinder hits the Kalash. Well, okay, the Punjabi prison match wasn't the same as that, because Great Khali got involved, but any match that's ended in a pinfall since Jinder's been champion has been exactly the same. And that's all that annoys me about this title run. I don't mind Jinder being champion. I don't even mind Shinsuke losing, because as soon as he lost, I thought, that makes so much more sense than him winning, because the next SmackDown pay-per-view is Hell in a Cell. So, how do you stop the Singh brothers getting involved? Hell in a Cell. You know, like, it just made perfect sense to me as soon as they did it. However, it's just this standard... Jinder Mahal's becoming the new John Cena, where every single match is to the same exact formula, but in a completely different way. But it's formulaic, you know.
Yeah,
or the new Hulk Hogan, where the match is formulaic. It is the same match no matter who is fighting.
It's like if we could just switch it up a bit. And so in the Punjabi prison match, when Khali came out, I thought, oh, well, that's good. I like that. But everything before then was terrible. It was just, it's all the same stuff.
Yeah.
And it just something I didn't understand. Maybe I misunderstood the rules. Was that match supposed to be a no DQ match? Because those guys, the Singh brothers, are just like jumping Shinsuke in front of the referee, and I'm like, are we gonna ring the bell?
Now here's the technicality that WWE seem to get away with these days in disqualification matches, because it wasn't a no DQ match, but the Singh brothers got in the ring, but Shinsuke hit them. They didn't hit him. They never took Shinsuke down. So I think there has to be aggressive contact made for disqualification, not just them getting in the ring, which to me is nonsense. As soon as they've 2-on-1 tried to jump in, that's it. That's match over. But that seems to be what they seem to go with, which is as long as they don't actually manage to hit Shinsuke, because they didn't, he just flattened him and kneed him in the face, then it doesn't count. Like, but I think it's rubbish. I think, you know, how do you not call that a DQ?
I have a problem. Here's one thing WWE never considers. we're not just comparing the match happening in front of our face to itself. We're comparing it inevitably to other matches. So when you watch a guy like Shinsuke Nakamura kick out of 8 billion other things ever, especially he is the king of strong style. Do you know how many times he got dropped in his back or kicked in his face in New Japan, and he kicked out 1,000,000 times in those matches? One Colossus. But it's like when people try to...
in their defense, I will say the Colossus is the one thing about Jinder Mahal that's been booked very strong. Randy Orton never kicked out of one, and Shinsuke is not kicked out of one. That finisher, we might look at it and think, well, Shinsuke's taken harder bumps, but that's never been how wrestling logic works. You know, the AA is one of the tamest moves that John Cena does in a match, yet it's the one he uses to finish it. So, I think that's fine, because they're just booking the class strong, so it's a big deal when someone kicks out of it. I think personally Shinsuke is going to kick out of it in Hell in a Cell and win. Personally, that's my early prediction. But they've been booking that strong, so it's a shock when someone kicks out of it. So it's a big deal. It kept Randy Orton down every time he used it, like every time, you know, and that makes it a big deal. So I get where you're coming from, but I don't have a problem with it personally. I think it's not such a case of making Shinsuke look weak, because it doesn't, because it kept Randy Orton down as well. I think it's more a case of making that move look strong. If Jinder hits that move, he wins. And that's what a finisher's meant to be. I prefer that personally.
That's your line of thinking is spot on as usual. See, I was thinking about the move itself, not about the other people who sold it. So, like for example, when I see Charlotte Flair, who wrestles her butt off and kicks out of so much stuff, then get beat by a Bayley to belly, which is just a belly to belly that has never defeated anybody in the history of wrestling. But suddenly, when Bayley does it and switches the name, it makes Charlotte not be able to get her shoulders off the mat. That just is mind-boggling.
But you're forgetting the important thing though, which is Bayley uses the magical power of hug to temporarily paralyze Charlotte while she grabs her. She's got super hugs.
She hit her with a hug.
She's got super hugs, and she can choose to use that for good or bad. She uses it to make that girl who's always at ringside for every Bayley match super happy. She also can use it for bad to temporarily paralyze Charlotte so she can pin her to the mat for 3 seconds. You see, it's a magic hug.
Here we go. Mystery solved.
I mean, that's the sort of logic you have to apply in WWE, because there isn't any logic like a lot of the time. So yeah, you just have to. Anyway, I want to talk about the next match, because this is the only match of the night that I predicted right, and you didn't, and the game didn't. So I want to talk about this match because this is my crowning glory moment. I don't think either of us are beating the game. Just having a quick look over, I'll count up the scores in a second, but we're not winning. But yeah, the Fatal 4-Way Universal Title match. This was a great match. I don't know if you saw it. I had a massive debate in your group with this guy who said the match was boring, and I was like, you might not have enjoyed it, but there's no way after 16,000 people were jumping out the seat and the whole ringside area got wrecked, and so did 4 of WWE's best wrestlers, and everyone was posting positive stuff about it. You can call this boring. It might not have been your cup of tea, but it wasn't boring. It wasn't.
Yeah, it's not a very good opinion.
I was like, that's not the right criticism of it. And, you know, I ended up just saying, look, you're tying yourself up in knots, because he was kind of disagreeing with himself a lot, you know, and contradicting himself. And I was like, look, I'm tired, I'm not carrying on this debate. But I was just like, what? How can you call that? But if you call that boring, don't watch WWE. Go and watch Ring of Honor. If you want all your matches to be technical wrestling with hard-hitting, you know, roundhouse kicks, go and watch New Japan or Ring of Honor, and don't watch WWE, because that's not what WWE does. WWE does sports entertainment, and that sometimes involves a massive man throwing a desk chair at people, you know, like, and throwing an announce table on Brock Lesnar. Sometimes that's what it is, you know. And I'm just like, and I don't see how you're not entertained by that.
I love talking to you because you say things that nobody else says and that nobody thinks of. That's so perfect what you just said. WWE does sports entertainment. That's the thing. Like, I listen to everybody complain about, you know,
this isn't wrestling. And it's like, no, it's not wrestling. Wrestling's a dirty word in the WWE. Like,
yeah, they've made it clear they're not wrestlers. They're sports entertainers. And so if your expectation is that you're going to go see wrestling at a WWE event, you're the one who messed up, not WWE. They've said at a certain point in their history, they've said, look, going forward, we're just entertaining. We're not wrestling here. And that's the reality. If you want to see wrestling, go to the Ring of Honor and some of these other companies. Go to New Japan.
New Japan Pro Wrestling. You know,
And again, it's all about
not
wrestling.
WWE, which no longer stands for World Wrestling Entertainment because they don't want the word wrestling. It's just WWE. It's not. They don't acknowledge the wrestling word at all. It's like it's very rare. You've got Johnny Gargano in NXT. He calls himself Johnny Wrestling, and that's the only time I hear the word wrestling on any WWE programming.
Think about the unfair criticism. New Japan has fantastic wrestling. It does. It's some of the best wrestling I've ever seen in my life.
Absolutely.
They have no. They don't have the bright lights. Everything looks smoky inside the arena. They have no production values. They have no video packages. The entrance music is terrible, and I don't even know like 89% of the guys, which is a random percentage. But my point is, I don't know who any of those guys are. There's no criticism of that. All they have is good wrestling. WWE doesn't have the best wrestling all the time, but they're like the total package. And everybody's like, they suck.
No, exactly. I just think if that's what you're watching for, why are you watching that match? Like some matches in WWE, fair enough. Watch NXT Takeover. You get wrestling at that. Like NXT is more of a wrestling company than WWE is. Let's be honest, because it's still training wrestlers to be sports entertainers. So they still allow them to wrestle because they're getting out of the habit almost. But I mean, I predicted Brock to win this. I said I would be surprised by any other result, so I have to go with Brock. You predicted Joe. The game predicted Joe. I wanted Joe to win. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not being all smug about this. I would have been happy to be wrong on this one. I would have been happy for Joe to win. Been happy for Braun to win. Maybe not so much Roman. I don't feel like this is when Roman was supposed to win the title. Like I feel like I felt personally he was the least likely to win the match, which is a strange thing to say. Roman Reigns is the least likely to win. But the result was Brock won. Right, I wrote down, wow, Strowman for Hall of Fame. Because that match was the Braun Strowman show. That was so good. He established himself as the main guy on Raw in that show. I'm sorry if anyone doesn't agree, but no one can beat Braun Strowman at the moment. Like, Braun Strowman ragdolled Brock Lesnar. When has that ever happened? Goldberg surprised Brock Lesnar. When has anyone ever just purely overpowered Brock Lesnar?
Yeah, exactly. Braun Strowman. I was already high on Braun.
Me too, man. He's great.
I was already a fan from the beginning. I'm kind of sad that he got away from that. It was kind of like a weird move, but I wanted him to do more with it. But that backwards choke slam. I don't even know calling it. But
it's an awkward move for the recipient to take. You got to suspend disbelief with wrestling to a certain extent, but all I can ever think when I've watched them do that is, why don't they just put their hands out and not land on the face? Like,
That's what I was thinking,
they're falling from so high up, they've got plenty of time to put their hands out.
The funniest person who ever took that move was Ellsworth. The look on his face is he had one hand up in the air like he was trying to get the attention of the teacher in class.
Right, something I wanted to address as well, something I wrote down halfway through the match. When Brock came back out from being taken to the back, I'm not so sure Brock wasn't legitimately hurt in that match. Like, maybe not to the extent where they called an audible and he had to lose the title. Like, he got back over it, but he was not okay when he came back out. Like, and I don't mean because he was selling the injury. I mean, when Roman speared him, he almost forgot to fall over. Like, and then when Roman pinned him, he barely got his shoulder up. Like, and I felt that was legit. He sort of struggled to roll to the side, and I was like, dude, Brock Lesnar's hurt. Like,
yeah, the next day, if you looked at his face on Raw, his face looked like he had been in a fight today.
He did not look happy, did he? Like, yeah. And by the way, I'm gonna say I want to take full credit for my prediction prowess here, because not only did I predict Brock to win, but this review is going up after Raw and SmackDown, and we're recording it after Raw and SmackDown. But in your group before Raw happened, I said they're going to say Braun and Samoa Joe didn't get pinned. They're going to have a number one contenders match, and Braun's going to face Brock at No Mercy. Now, they didn't have the match. They just skipped straight ahead to Braun Strowman saying, I want the next shot, which is fair enough. But I predicted Braun Strowman versus Brock Lesnar at No Mercy. That was the obvious match. It has to happen. Braun can't have that match, come out of it without the title and go, fair enough. Like, no, Braun Strowman won that match in every way other than pinning someone's shoulders to the mat for 3. Like, he beat all 3 of those men several times over. You know, like, there's no way Braun Strowman can be happy coming out that match without the belt.
Yeah, I agree, and But here's the thing I wonder, because I'm not of the opinion that they're going to let Braun walk out with the strap next month in Los Angeles. I think that they're going to stick with their original plan of having Brock carry that title right on through WrestleMania and drop it to Roman Reigns yet again for yet another WrestleMania main event and yet another WrestleMania moment for Roman Reigns. My question is, after booking Braun so strong against Brock, they go one-on-one where there is nobody else to come in and break up the fight. How are they going to act like the Beast is going to overcome the monster?
First of all, Brock Lesnar can kick out of anything and beat anyone. He's been booked that way ever since he beat the Streak. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. But Braun Strowman is very, very, very popular now. I wouldn't even say he really qualifies as a heel anymore because he's so over with the fans. Like, it's hard to call him a heel because he's generally, when a heel gets that popular, their face, they turn face immediately. So, what if, and here's an idea for something for him to do going forward. Here's my idea. What if he's about to beat Brock and Bray Wyatt's Titantron thing goes across? And Braun's like, what the hell are you doing? Kind of thing. And then when the lights come back on, Lesnar's up and F5s him and wins. Then Braun feuds with Bray, and that keeps him busy, and he goes on to maybe another feud. And then have Braun win the Rumble and take the title off Brock at Mania, and have Roman face Cena at Mania. Somehow hold off Roman Cena until Mania. I would prefer that to Roman taking on Brock and Braun doing whatever. Like, I would prefer that personally. And I think Braun Strowman is the man that needs to win his first world title after winning the Royal Rumble, because let's face it, how does Braun Strowman lose a Royal Rumble? Like, he can literally pick
the only way
throw anyone in the company. So surely he just stands in the middle of the ring, someone comes in, he picks them up and throws them over the top rope. Like he did that security guard. Just goes, be gone, and just throws them and they land halfway up the ramp. Like, getting lost in kayfabe now. How does anyone beat Braun Strowman in a Royal Rumble match?
Well, we've seen how because look at how they beat the Big Show every year in the Royal Rumble. 12 guys, 13 guys, gang up on them and toss them over the top rope. But
Braun Strowman's faster than the Big Show and stronger. How does he get caught by that? He comes in and he clears house like every big star does. End up taking everyone down and throwing out 3 or 4 jobbers. That's how a big star comes into the Royal Rumble match. But then he should not be getting surrounded and taken down. He should literally just be picking people up out the corner where they're sat resting, lift them above his head and drop them over the top rope and repeat. Like,
I think with this year in the Rumble, if Braun's in the Rumble, I think he'll come down to final 3, not final 2. I think he'll be in the final 3.
I really, really want Braun Strowman to win this year's Royal Rumble. Really, like, I can't think of anyone I'd rather win it, including Cesaro, than Braun Strowman. I can't think of anyone I'd rather see win it.
Here's another thing, going back to your
like, who would you rather see win the Rumble than Braun? Like, in terms of what you'd enjoy watching.
I would not rather see anybody either. I just don't know where do we go from there. I mean,
he beats Brock at WrestleMania for the title, and he's the man. He's the man, and you've still got this situation where Roman Reigns can't really beat Braun, so you're still building up this struggle for Reigns. Because I think because that many people see Reigns challenging for the title at Mania, no one's buying this. Oh, look, he's losing all the time. Oh, it's going to be a real struggle for him. No, he'll start winning in January, and he'll win the title at WrestleMania, and everyone knows that's going to happen. Or he'll start winning in November when he beats Cena at Survivor Series. Like, it's just, I don't think people will really get invested into now supporting him if it happens at next year's WrestleMania, because they know it's coming. So they're just like, yeah, you tried to trick us, but we're not falling for that. Kind of like that. It needs to be so much more of a struggle. Put it on Strowman and have Reigns not be able to beat him. Have Reigns beat Strowman at WrestleMania 35. Imagine if Reigns had to wait till WrestleMania 35 to win the world title. Imagine how over he could be by then.
Yeah, I agree, and I want Braun, and I'm a logical person, but I also feel like we're still dealing with Vince McMahon, who wants.
I know. I just hope Vince McMahon random
Oh yeah, man.
videos. I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna listen to a small YouTuber's review of SummerSlam and see what they thought. And he picks me, and then he goes, "Do you know what, Ibeza? That is such a good idea. I'm gonna do that at WrestleMania." That's why I'm so passionate about it, because I just want that to happen so bad. But obviously it's not going to. Obviously Roman's gonna fight Brock at WrestleMania and win the title, and everyone's gonna boo. I mean, part of the reason I want to see Roman Cena at WrestleMania is because I'm planning on going, and I really want to be in that crowd. I really want to be in the crowd for Roman Reigns versus John Cena. That will be a fun crowd to be in, like, when that match happens.
Yeah, it's gonna be insane. I'd love to be there for that.
Yeah, and I mean, what about? I mean, I think maybe they'll swap it around. Maybe they'll do Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, and Braun Strowman versus Cena. You know, and give Strowman his moment that way. Have Strowman actually destroy Cena. Imagine, actually, that's not bad. Imagine if Strowman just picked apart Cena and just beat him. Like, no big comeback. Cena doesn't get to do his 5 moves of doom or anything. Braun Strowman just beats him. Just throws him around, and then power slams him and pins him. And it's like, everyone's like, whoa, what? that's how you get a monster over. Squash Cena.
John Cena versus Brock Lesnar, where Lesnar just ate him up. The birth of Salt Lake City, it was like, oh my god.
Yeah, imagine if Braun Strowman basically did that, but without the 2 AAs or whatever Cena got in that match. Imagine if Strowman did that, but Cena just didn't get anything in.
That would be
Strowman just played with John Cena for 10 minutes and then just pinned him.
Yeah, I would enjoy it.
I would enjoy that, and I'm not an anti-Cena guy. I just think that is how you establish someone. You don't have him beat Cena just about after, you know, he kicks out of a couple of your finishes. No, just flat out beat him. Like, imagine.
But will they do that to Cena?
No.
Because at some point
they won't do that. But they won't do either of my ideas for how to make Braun Strowman the biggest star in the history of the business. So, what can you do? Braun Strowman should enter the Royal Rumble at number 1 and throw out all 30 men, or all 29 men. That's how they should do it.
Yeah, I think Braun Strowman, because think about it, when's the last time that this happened? When's the last time that somebody came in at number 1 and lasted the entire Rumble and won it? And Braun
I don't
Strowman...
know if it was 1 or 2, but it had been Ray, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and he was in there for either a record-setting amount of time or almost record-setting.
I think he has the record, Ray. I think.
Braun Strowman.
He did at the time anyway. But yeah, imagine if Braun Strowman did it, but in record time. He wasn't in there for a record amount of time. He won it in literally the shortest amount of time possible.
It was like I thought it was like a really long time or something. If Braun could do it, Braun comes out at number 1 and just you know, goes through the whole. Nobody can touch him, and then that would be great, man. Because they used to do that for guys like when guys like Stone Cold were getting big in the business. It's because they did stuff like that. They came in at number 1 and they won the whole Rumble. You know,
Stone Cold. I mean, people can say, "Oh, well, that won't do any good for anyone else on the roster." Stone Cold buried the entire WWE and WCW roster in one night. Like, he just stunned everyone, and the people who didn't stun her had been beaten down by all the ones he did stun her, so they got buried by proxy. No one complained. Everyone just went, "Yeah, Austin's amazing." Like, just do it. Just put him over the entire roster. You can rebuild the rest of the roster against each other, but you have Braun Strowman on a pedestal where Brock Lesnar is now above everyone, and you have a full-timer above everyone on that pedestal instead of Brock Lesnar, who might be on that pedestal, but that pedestal is often off in Canada while they're running shows in America. You know, like, I just think it's so much more beneficial. Anyway, we have run long. We are on well over an hour now. We said we were going to keep this to an hour, but I mean, let's just see who won, as if we don't already know. So I got one match right, 2 matches right, 3, 4. I got 5. I got 5 matches correct. You got 1, 2, 2.5, because we gave you that half a point for a DQ. 3, 4. Oh, you got 4.5. Oh, what a shame. But this isn't between me and you. This is me and you against the game, and it's probably not gone well. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so by the end of the autumn match, they were level with me. 6, 7. They got 7, so the game got 7. So between us, we got more than the game. We got 9.5. But no, it was 7-5 to 4.5. I always lose to the game. I'm not very good at this, clearly. But it's good fun to try. So yeah, I mean, it was fun having you on. I think we're going to try, I think we've said we're going to try and do it slightly different going forward. After we've done this call, I'm going to tell you what my vision was for doing No Mercy simulations and predictions and see how you feel. But if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like, leave a comment with what you thought of SummerSlam, what you think about Sasha Banks and her approach to the fans, and anything else we talked about, what you would do to make Braun Strowman the greatest wrestler of all time. Let me know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new here, and don't forget to share with your friends if you think they would enjoy. But for now, all I have left to say, I can't do my outro, is I thank you very much for watching. I've been Ibiza, you've been amazing, he's been Emir.
And real quick, guys, if you guys want to be a part of the heated debate, go over to the RWT Raw Wrestling Talk page on Facebook and join the group. Thank you so much, Ibiza.
Absolutely, you get the opportunity to say you didn't like something that I liked and then argue with me for nearly a whole 24 hours about it if you go over there, because that's what happened last time. Someone said that match was boring. The argument nearly lasted like a whole day. So so if that's your thing, get over there. Yeah, but I mean, it's honestly, it's one of my, I'm in a lot of groups because obviously I join groups to promote my channel, and it's one of my favourite groups to actually participate in by far on Facebook, because everyone's quite, well, I don't know if everyone is, because you've got quite a lot of members, but there's like this core group that's really conversational and will talk about things and debate things and go back and forth. And I really enjoy being in that group. Not just saying that because you're here either. If you looked at my sort of Facebook activity, I'm most active in that group out of any that I'm in by quite a long way. So yeah, it's great. Everyone should definitely go and join it. Anyway, we will see you next time.